Let's call the meeting to order. Mr. Taylor, I guess we start with, let's start with Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. If we can all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you for this country and all the liberties that we enjoy, and we thank you for this community and everyone who works to make this community stronger. We pray that you guide us tonight as we do the people's business. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. First item of business is the approval of your agenda. There was an addition to the agenda, which is the approval of a special entertainment event permit. The agenda is before you for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Benton. Mr. Yakubowski.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is that special entertainment event permit. Due to scheduling, it was necessary to bring it before you this evening. This is for the Imbibe Craft Beer and Arts Festival to be held on April 6th from 1 to 6 p.m. at the Fredericksburg Fieldhouse at 3411 Shannon Park Drive. Kim Pomato is here if the board has any questions. Else, this is ready for your action.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Motion to approve.
Motion for Mr. Skinner. Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. Yakubowski.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
That brings us, Mr. Chairman, to the FY 2020 budget public hearing. Staff has been receiving sign-ups in advance and sign-ups in the door, at the door this afternoon. Parameters for the hearing are as follows. A sign-up is on the sheet. Come to the lectern, please, when your name is called, or come to one of the two microphones when your name is called, and clearly state your name and your voting district for our record. Address your comments directly to the board. State whether you're speaking on your own behalf, in which case you'll have 3 minutes to speak, or on behalf of a group, in which case you'll have 5 minutes to speak. There is a light system displayed on the monitor in the middle of the stage. Green means go, yellow means you have 30 seconds to sum up. When the light turns red, your microphone will be deactivated. Public presentations or these comments shall not be used to make campaign speeches, private advertisements, or personal attacks. Your written comments about the budget, like all other matters, are always welcome. Amy, who has signed up this evening?
The first speaker is Rory Burnett, followed by Elizabeth Borst.
Good evening. My name is Roy Burnett, and I'm here to, on behalf of, I'm the treasurer for Rebuilding Together Fredericksburg. I've been a Spotsylvania resident for 30 years, and I've worked with Rebuilding Together for the last 20 years. Spotsylvania County has supported us most of that time, and we're here in part to thank you for that. And to our regret, this is the first time in many years that we've addressed this board, and so I'd like to do that tonight. Spotsylvania Rebuilding Together supports low income and disabled residents of Spotsylvania County with major home repairs that they cannot afford to do on their own. Our primary goal is to provide these repairs at no cost to the homeowner. Many of these families have incomes of less than $25,000 a year. Our repairs include handicap ramps, making bathrooms accessible, We do plumbing repairs, roof repairs, all at no cost to the homeowners. We have a funding policy with Rebuilding Together that we do, all the donations we get, we want to spend on home repairs. To help us do that, all our board members work out of their homes. We utilize office space at a real estate office after hours to have our board meetings. We have a steel container that we use to house our tools and supplies, and that is staged on one of our board members' property. We do pay an executive director a minimum salary. So by doing this, for every donation we receive, we spend about $4 for every dollar we receive. So we do as much as we can with the limited resources we have. We have 30 to 40,000 is we spend in Spotsylvania County each year, with the county contributing 7,000 of that. So that's a pretty good return on the county's money. With this record, we are surprised to see the funding allocation for FY20 cut by 40%. Again, we do regret that we have not been here before the board to keep you apprised of the work that we do for the Spotsylvania residents. We also work in Fredericksburg City. We also work in Stafford County. Currently, we have 53 applications for work being done on houses. 9 of those are in Fredericksburg, 9 are in Stafford, 35 are here in Spotsylvania County. We spend almost twice as much time in Spotsylvania County as we do in Fredericksburg and Stafford. Several times this year, Spotsylvania Social Services have come to us and asked us if we could help them with their clients with necessary home repairs. Just to mention two quickly, we did plumbing repairs and well repairs and a total roof replacement for one of the Spotsylvania residents. It was a 73-year-old gentleman. And then we did a hot water tank replacement for an 88-year-old resident who had no hot water. These two repairs alone were $7,000, as much as the county gives to us each year. We have supported the county for over 25 years, and we will continue to do so. We do want to thank you for the support that you have given us, and we would ask that you would reconsider the proposed cut for Rebuilding Together in FY20. I want to thank you very much for letting me address the board.
Elizabeth Borst, followed by Janet Gullickson.
Hi, good evening. I'm Elizabeth Borst, Chancellor District, and I'm speaking on behalf of Virginia Community Food Connections. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight and for our inclusion in the proposed 2020 budget. Virginia Community Food Connections is a local nonprofit that connects low-income residents with available, locally grown food to increase food security, improve health, and support local agriculture. We offer the SNAP Match program at area farmers markets, providing $30 of free fruits and vegetables every week for struggling families. This program helps farmers earn federal benefit income that otherwise would be unavailable to them. Very simply, every dollar of SNAP plus the match goes through the benefit recipient directly to the people that grow the food. We're keeping those SNAP dollars in the local economy and supporting family farms. This program started in 2009 at Spotsylvania Farmers Market. We've grown a lot since then, but our goals are still the same: to make healthy produce affordable, to attract new customers to our farmers markets, and to create a more equitable community food system. We partnered with farmers markets around the region, and we've built one of the largest food access programs in Virginia. The markets that we work with in the region represent 36% of all the SNAP sales at Virginia farmers markets. And we've earned over $1 million for farmers in the past 10 years. For a number of years, we worked with GWRC as our fiscal agent, and they encouraged us to form a standalone nonprofit for local food access. We're also connected to farmers markets around the state through our statewide network called Virginia Fresh Match, and we have funding through that statewide network from the USDA in a Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentive Grant. Locally, that will bring $300,000 into the region over 3 years. For Spotsylvania, the direct impact of this program has been significant. Just this past year, it was $35,000 at our 2 markets in SNAP and Match. That's a lot of income for our small local farmers. In 2019, we're projecting to do the same. Low-income residents will receive more than $15,000 in extra fruits and vegetables through this program. That gives them more buying power for healthy produce, a healthier diet, and healthier community. This first time we've been here asking for funding in 10 years. We were pleased to receive funding from all the localities this year to help us offset some of our costs and also to be able to use these local dollars as match against our federal grant. We really encourage you to come out and visit our farmers markets, please. We want you to see how transformative making local food affordable can be. Please visit our markets. They're opening next month, Saturdays from 8 to 1 at Route 3 and Gordon Road, and Wednesdays from 2 to 6 at Spotsylvania Regional Medical Center. Really appreciate your support in helping us connect people and produce and all the work that everyone is doing here to contribute to a healthier, more equitable community. Thanks.
Janet Gullickson, followed by Katarina Volton.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much for this time. I'm Janet Gullickson. I live in Spotsylvania County. Supervisor Yakubowski is my representative. I thank you for all that you've done for Germanna. If you take a look at the first set of numbers that are on that paper in front of you, you see that we've educated last year about 4,500 Spotsylvania students. None of that would have been possible without your generous support throughout the lifetime of Germanna. We're coming up to our 50th year anniversary. Spotsylvania has always been there for us, and we appreciate it very much. As you'll note, it costs less than $5,000 for a student to attend Germanna Community College, and as you know, Spotsylvania students attend Germanna more than any other college in the Commonwealth. If you look at the tuition costs for the next 2 most attended institutions, they are from 2.5 to 3 times what the cost of a year at Germanna is. And we're growing in enrollment. We're one of the few community colleges in the Commonwealth who have grown. We've grown by the most number of any community college in the Commonwealth, as well as the most percentage. I also want to point out the kinds of majors that we're turning out. Many of our students are transfer students that continue on to Mary Washington University or other universities in the Commonwealth. Many of our students are workforce students who go out into the industry. We also have a pretty big emphasis on healthcare, and that is why we came to you this year with an increase, a substantial increase, and ask in our support from you, which is to help us build a new facility in Locust Grove so that we may continue to educate the health professionals that our region uses. As you know, healthcare is the second largest after retail occupational need in our region and in Spotsylvania County, so we're proud to have Germanna be part of that. Finally, I'd like to say that Spotsylvania County is the home to more than 60% of our employees. We're proud to live in this county, and we're proud to be associated with you. A final word. In the last year and a half, or a little bit more, that I have been president of Germanna, I have had the opportunity to work with Spotsylvania schools. I have to tell you, as part of their strategic planning group, and as well as somebody who's worked very closely with some of the teachers as well as the administrators, I couldn't be prouder of having Spotsylvania schools in our county as well. If I had children of that age, I would proudly send them to Spotsylvania schools. One fast example. We just learned tonight that a mutual student, a student who's been educated at Spotsylvania as well as Germanna through a dual enrollment program, was accepted today by William and Mary University. It's without quality education that those things wouldn't happen. And I'm very proud to be associated with that student success and with Spotsylvania schools. Thank you very much.
Katarina Volton, followed by Janelle Donahue.
Good evening. I am Katarina Volton, Director of Development at Legal Aid Works, which has been serving Spotsylvania County since 1973. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and thank you for your previous support. We are asking for level funding and understand all too well the need to balance a tight budget. Our 4 full-time attorneys and 1 part-time attorney cover 5 counties and 15 courts in this planning district. We represent low-income people who need an attorney in civil legal matters, such as domestic violence civil protective orders, unemployment benefits which have been illegally denied, landlord, tenant, and foreclosure matters. We are the only agency providing this service. In your county, there are 10,726 eligible low-income persons who would qualify for our services. As an outside agency, we behave like an inside agency by helping county governments in 3 ways. We take the strain off your social services safety net by lifting clients out of poverty with enforceable court orders of child and spousal support, as well as unemployment benefits that the clients would not otherwise have won without our legal intervention. We help the county court system run efficiently by helping those who can't afford an attorney. Those litigants unrepresented by attorneys slow the system down considerably. We aid law enforcement by working with victims of violence to secure enforceable protective orders. We leverage your financial support to provide legal services that benefit your citizens. In the last fiscal year, 498 of your residents were assisted by our 5 attorneys, including several critical domestic violence cases. We obtained $203,457 in annualized child and spousal support. When you total the amount of real, measurable financial help we give the residents of your county compared to the amount you give us, that is an excellent return on your investment. In the last fiscal year, the 3 offices of our agency obtained nearly $1 million for our clients throughout the 17 counties we serve. I have brochures with me so that you can provide good constituent services by referring appropriate residents of this county to our office. Again, thank you for your role in achieving the American ideal of justice for all.
Janelle Donahue, followed by Teresa Bowers.
Good evening. My name is Janelle Donahue. I am president of Rappahannock United Way, which is located at 3310 Shannon Park Drive in Spotsylvania County. I'm also a proud resident of Spotsylvania County at 10905 Crestwood Drive, and it's just an honor to be here today to say thank you. Thank you so much for investing in Rappahannock United Way and the programs that we have. This year we are thrilled that the requested $3,000 is in the budget because that is going to help us with our free tax preparation and financial coaching. And what makes this such an important investment, a small percentage of the budget, is that in addition to serving hundreds of Spotsylvania residents through tax prep and financial coaching, you're able to help us achieve matching funds. For just the $3,000, Rappahannock United Way is then able to receive state funds and federal funds for grants totaling over $75,000. I'd say that's a pretty good return on your investment. Last year alone, Rappahannock United Way volunteer, it's all by volunteers who do tax prep and greeting tax sites, we assisted 556 Spotsylvania residents, saving those citizens. So by doing tax prep for them for free, saving these citizens over $125,000 in tax prep fees. The majority of those residents tell us that they're going to pay bills, they're going to buy diapers, they're going to pursue education, and make a difference in their future. So in addition to offering free tax prep at our Spotsylvania office, over the last 3 years, we have also hosted a mobile tax site in Spotsylvania County in partnership with BB&T. This allows residents throughout the county who can't get to other sites have access to the services we provide because of your support. On average, can you believe this? On average, tax service clients receive over $1,600 on average in refunds. This means that Spotsylvania County alone, that our program has put back into this community over $900,000. That's just in 1 year. These funds also support our financial education efforts. We partner with Legal Aid Works, we partner with Germanna Community College, and so many others in the county. We lead the Rappahannock Regional Financial Stability Coalition, bringing people of like mind around financial stability together. So we partner with the Central Rappahannock Regional Libraries, our own Spotsylvania DSS. We partner with the Virginia Employment Commission, and we offer free training and for the staff here around financial coaching and financial stability. We also provide free financial checkups and coaching to Spotsylvania residents, and we're working to increase local capacity of staff at many of our local agencies who are here tonight and businesses to incorporate financial stability into their programs. I want to say thank you. Thank you for that investment. That $3,000 is going to help us establish the match we need for other funds that are state and federal, so we can bring over $75,000 in grants. Your investment in Rappahannock United Way helps us to achieve so much for the residents in Spotsylvania County. Thank you so much for your time and your investment. We appreciate you.
Teresa Bowers, followed by Lisa Amer.
Good evening, Supervisors and County Administration. Bonnie has a handout for you. Did they get that? Thank you. My name is Teresa Bowers, and I'm the Director of the Senior Visitors Program at Mental Health America of Fredericksburg. And standing with me this evening is Rita Gerard, the Executive Director of Mental Health America of Fredericksburg and a Spotsylvania County resident. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening, and on behalf of the people that we serve, thank you for your past support of our organization. This year, however, I'm here to speak with you directly about your proposed funding cut of 46% of our free programs, the majority of which affects the Senior Visitors Program, representing a 50% cut. The clients we serve in the Senior Visitors Program are vulnerable senior citizens, most of whom live alone and still in their own homes. They are often homebound, and due to medical issues, a physical disability, or a visual deficit, they are considered homebound. Most are socially isolated and lonely, and many have lost their connections with their community and their neighbors. They are at high risk for depression, further health problems, and inadequate safety due to these home circumstances. The Senior Visitors Program provides a trained volunteer who makes a free, weekly, in-home visit for socialization and support services that promote independence and health for older adults. Currently, we provide services to 114 senior clients in our program. This represents approximately 37% clients seen from Spotsylvania County. This is one of the localities that we serve in Planning District 16. This 37% is nearly double the amount of clients seen in Stafford County and nearly 25% more of the clients seen in Fredericksburg City. One explanation we were given for this severe cut was, quote, the board's concern that Spotsylvania was potentially subsidizing other localities. This evening, I dispute this statement, and having given you these numbers, I ask you all to think instead that Spotsylvania is actually a leader in funding these support services for their citizens. Our funding needs haven't changed and certainly haven't decreased, but in fact, our enrollment continues to increase. And we don't want to have to cut the number of seniors that we serve by 50%. I can't emphasize enough the impact that this program has on the lives of seniors in Spotsylvania County who were very lonely, isolated, and disconnected from their community before enrolling in the Senior Visitors Program. The seniors that you represent and that we serve, thank you for your funding, and tonight they collectively ask you to reconsider and fully fund the requested amount. Our tagline at Mental Health America of Fredericksburg is changing lives, saving lives. Changing minds, saving lives. We do that through the Senior Visitors Program, our mental wellness support groups, our teen suicide prevention program, and our mental health helpline. We know that when we change minds by providing mental health resources and support, we change and save lives. Thank you for helping to make Spotsylvania a leader where residents are receiving the mental health resources that they need. Thank you.
Lisa Amer, followed by Juanita Shanks.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Amer, and I vote in the Lee Hill District. Responsibility. It's a noun meaning the obligation to carry forward an assigned task to a successful conclusion. As a citizen of Spotsylvania, I feel it is my responsibility to speak up and advocate for the often voiceless children in our county. It is the responsibility of our schools to prepare our children for the future. This means we welcome, embrace, and provide quality education for all students who come to us. All students are entitled to an equitable education achieved through relevant quality instruction and targeted programs. It is essential we meet the needs of our diverse community. It is our responsibility to provide a safe and modern learning environment, whether it be the actual structure or the security of our precious students. It is our responsibility to supply the most up-to-date materials and equipment. Every child deserves timely access to mental health and social work professionals. It is our responsibility to ensure the student-counselor ratio will allow for that. And in order to implement all this, it is our responsibility to ensure increased levels of staffing in all areas with high-quality employees who are paid a competitive salary. As a supervisor, what is your responsibility? In your code of ethics, it states, "Keep the common good as my highest purpose and focus on achieving constructive solutions for the public benefit." Each year the school's needs are not met means more to make up in the following years. This is neither a constructive solution nor does it benefit our students. It is your fiscal responsibility to stop playing this game of catch-up because it will only get more expensive down the road. This is the year to implement the advertised tax rate. Now is the time to do the responsible thing by fully funding the schools of Spotsylvania County. Please fund our future.
Juanita Shanks, followed by Jessica Dirks.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to share our organization and programs. My name is Juanita Shanks, and I am a resident of Spotsylvania County in the Salem District. I am here as the president and CEO of Failsafe Era, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that was established in 2009 to assist inmates formerly incarcerated, which we call the returning citizens, and family members that have been affected by incarceration, those that are in Planning District 16. 40% of our clients were released to or are residents of Spotsylvania County. On average, we receive at least 200 or more requests for help annually, and our numbers are continuing to increase, and the crime rate in Spotsylvania County continues to rise. Our programs can help reduce these rates and taxpayer spendings on prisons and make our communities better. We have established a partnership with the American Traffic Safety Services Association, that is ATSA, for a right road job training and placement program. The pilot will begin on the 1st of April, and upon completion of that training, those returning citizens will then be placed with ATSA member companies for employment, and we will follow them with coaching and mentoring for up to 6 months. We also provide training to the inmates at the Rappahannock Regional Jail. Last year, we graduated 48 inmates from our Best U program. We also have ministry with our organization, and we minister to over hundreds of inmates in the Rappahannock Regional Jail and provides food to those family members. We also have a Toastmasters speaking and leadership program that we provide to the returning citizens and also to the juveniles in the detention center, the Rappahannock Juvenile Detention Center. Last year, we graduated 7 adults and 25 juveniles from our Toastmasters program. To prevent generations of incarceration, we've established 2 other programs. One is the E-CHIPS, which is equipping children with incarcerated parents. E-CHIPS is a support group curriculum that is designed to reduce the trauma and those challenges that those individuals, those children face as a result of having a parent that is incarcerated. Last year, we piloted E-CHIPS at Riverview Elementary with 9 children. This year, we're at Rocky Road Elementary. We continue to hear from the counselors and also from these social workers that this is a much-needed program in the schools. We were very blessed to receive an award from the Community Foundation's Youth and Philanthropy Grant so that we can continue the program for this year. WIGS is another program that is a preventative program, Women Inspiring Girls, because of the high rate of female incarceration. That program will offer programs or training on self-worth, managing emotions, and conflict resolutions. This is our first time asking for funding. Our programs are currently funded by our board members, dues, donations, and fundraisers. But this funding is necessary in order for us to continue our efforts to help our children, to help our families, and also to help our communities that have been affected by incarceration. These guys and gals are coming back into our communities, and we are dedicated to providing opportunities to give them a second chance. By doing so, we believe that we will decrease the number of individuals committing criminal acts and help reunite those families that have been torn apart by incarceration and the incarceration process. Thank you all very much.
Jessica Dirks, followed by Mike Smith.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Dirks. I'm a resident of Spotsylvania County in the Salem District. I'm also the casework supervisor of Big Brothers Big Sisters Greater Fredericksburg, and I'm here to thank you tonight for your past funding support. The Big Brothers Big Sisters Board of Directors asked the Board of Supervisors to approve the proposed level funding this year of $3,000. We strengthen our community by connecting one adult and one child and supporting that match at every stage. We focus on a child's potential and our role as adults in helping children achieve their best possible futures. This funding will help us continue to enroll children and volunteer mentors, conduct background checks and train mentors, and create mentor matches. Unique to our one-to-one mentoring program is the regularly scheduled contact between professionally trained staff and the members of the child's family, the guardian, and the adult volunteer to track and evaluate the strength of the relationship and the progress of the child. It has been proven that adverse experiences and toxic stress as a child delays normal brain development and results in negative behavior that hinders school success. Research on childhood adversity reveals that the single most common factor for children to develop resilience and to thrive is a stable and committed relationship with a supportive adult. We are able to help children navigate the challenges and adversity in their lives. In addition to community mentoring, we also partner with Spotsylvania County schools and teachers to provide mentoring and an after-school program. The guidance counselor at Harrison Road Elementary School appreciates the support of Big Brothers Big Sisters in bringing mentors to the school for students who need additional support, meeting their learning standards. Our mentors model responsible behavior and encourage positive life choices and help children develop the protective factors and behavioral assets they need for a productive and successful life. Big Brothers Big Sisters is an active member of the Community Collaborative for Youth and Families, which works to improve the mental and social health of children, which will have positive economic impact on our entire community. Thank you for joining us and investing in the county's children, and together we are defenders of children's potential.
Mike Smith, followed by Lisa Crittenden.
Good evening, Board of Supervisors, County Administrator Mark Taylor, and supporting staff. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Michael Smith, and I live in the Livingston District. I had hoped to come here tonight and not hear the words raise taxes, but that's already been thrown out. But what I want to do is I come here in good faith, because I'm not coming here to ask for a tax cut. Okay? That's not what I'm doing tonight. And hopefully that makes your job a little bit easier. And I want to thank you for the job that you do each and every year and for having this event. Okay? And from the first time I attended one to even tonight, it's been civil, it's been fair, it's been collaborative, and I appreciate that. And it's truly my hope that one day this event will be held in the Holbert building, okay? Where we just have a small group of people because everyone got what they wanted, got what they needed, and didn't have to show up and ask for it. So we're doing well and we're getting there, and that's still my hope. But there are people who are not here tonight and they can't make it. They might be senior citizens, disabled, Social Security annuitants, those who have physical challenges, mental challenges, who live on limited budgets, who live in rental income, who pay property taxes on a small home or have small pensions. And any tax increase that's put forward on that property will affect them, will take away from the support that they need, the basic needs that they need. So I hope you can keep that in mind tonight as you make decisions. And as always, I respect the decisions that each and every one of you make as representatives for each of the individual districts, okay? But we come together as a county for a budget, and it applies in majority rules, and that's the way it should be. So thank you very much for that. I just want to read a little bit here from the budget message dated February 12th. As reported in our comprehensive annual fiscal report for FY18, our county's economy continues to be strong. Okay, it's been strong over the last number of years. It's created jobs. It has expanded our tax base. We're having good growth, and we continue strong credit ratings. Thank you for that. The vitality of Spotsylvania County's economy is also reflected in the revenue increases for FY20 coming up. You're hoping to get $6 million, almost $6.5 million more in new revenue from real estate, plus another $6 million in other taxes. This is a good news story, okay? With the additional revenues that are anticipated, the proposed FY 2020 budget calls for no change in Spotsylvania County taxes. I want to thank Mark Taylor and him and his staff for the work they put in each and every year to look at the numbers to try to meet everyone's needs, including the schools and public safety and DSS and everyone else that needs money. And I want to thank him for his service to the county over the years. As you know, he's going to be leaving us pretty soon, but I also want to, as a fan, as a friend, and as a respected citizen, I want to thank you for your service to this county, Mark, very much. Now, with that said, I'm not asking you to decrease the taxes, and we've had those.
Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, but your time has expired.
Thank you very much.
Lisa Crittenden, followed by Greg Sabula.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for allowing me to have the opportunity to speak before you. I am representing Lois Ann's Hope House. Hope House, as everyone knows it, in the community. I'm the Chief Executive Officer. I've been in that position for 6 years now. I've had the opportunity to work hand in hand with a number of these organizations that have just spoke on behalf of their entities and asking for additional support or thanking the Spotsylvania community for all their investing and support over the years. Lois Ann's Hope House has been the first, and we are the largest family homeless shelter in our community. For over 31 years, you all have invested and supported us, and so I say thank you for that. We have made a difference in the lives of so many children and their families, and we continue to do so. In the past 6 years, we've increased the efforts and the impact we have made. In the past 2 years, we have doubled the amount of families and children we have supported. Over 82 families, 169 children have been placed not in shelter, not on the streets, but in their own homes. We could not do that without community support. In 2015, after I arrived as the executive director, we lost funding from the federal government for the shelter itself. So the funding we now receive is just to place families into their own homes. I am asking you all to reconsider reducing our funding for this year. We have increased the number of families we are taking in from 13 to 16. We have added an additional home. There is still a waiting list in our community for families impacted by homelessness. You know that. You probably hear it every day with the school systems, with social services. Those are the entities that we are working with. Children need assistance. We don't want them out in the cold on the streets with their families because children don't have any control over that. I will tell you, It costs $3,000 for a family of 4 for us to house them in the shelter. Again, our shelter is not a shelter that just holds families and releases them without placing them into homes. It's $3,500 to place a family of 4 into their housing, and we support them six months to a year out. In particular, I just want to bring 2 stories to light. We assisted a Spotsylvania school teacher from not even entering into shelter. He needed assistance. We placed him and his family into housing so that they did not enter shelter. They were not considered homeless. We also assisted a veteran from Spotsylvania County who had a PhD. Circumstances impact different people in different ways, and we see that every day. It's just not poverty-driven. Those individuals who are assisted are placed back into the 4 counties in the 1 city, where they are then economically impacting every day the operations of our communities. Please continue to support us. I know you have a hard decision to make, and I just wanted to come before you all and say thank you for what you have done. We've asked for the increase because this year we have become the central location for the homeless helpline for everyone in our community. So Lower Sands Hope House is doing that to change lives. We also are the lead agency for prevention in our community, and we are stopping people from entering into homelessness. I clearly conveyed that in our proposal and our request for funding. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you are doing. Please consider to rethink that funding. Thank you.
Greg Sabula, followed by Michael Euripides.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Greg Sabula. I live in Berkeley District. I'm speaking as an individual this evening. Here we go again. For at least the last 11 years, I have regularly requested establishment of an advertised tax rate that provided our citizens with some incentive to participate in the annual budget public hearings and advocate their priorities for services, along with any additional wants and desires not already included in the budget. This year, by setting the advertised rate 3 cents above the administrator's budget, you have established the budget flexibility for potential funding and approval for the requests presented this evening. Historically, setting the advertised rate equal or below the administrator's budget severely dissuaded citizen discussion or participation in the public budget hearing process and effectively muted public input for additional community services, public safety, education, or any of the special needs of our citizens due to the lack of spending flexibility. As previous chairman of the Citizens Budget Review Committee and former Berkeley District Supervisor, I wish to personally thank you for setting an advertised rate that allows for consideration and approval of tonight's request. As the elected officials of Spotsylvania County government, your responsibilities are to govern in a fair and responsible manner and establish a balanced budget in accordance with Virginia law. Unfortunately, you don't have the privilege of calling that much advertised phone number that says you don't have to pay your credit debts if you owe too much. Instead, you have the inherent obligation for management of income and spending by approving the final tax rate and budget to meet our county's needs for basic services, technology upgrades, and employee benefits, as well as those requests from the citizens here this evening. Good luck and thank you for serving Spotsylvania County.
Michael Euripides, followed by Evelyn Euripides.
Good evening. Michael couldn't make it tonight. My name is Evelyn Euripides, and I live in the Lee Hill District. I'm here to stress the importance of your commitment to our school-age citizens in Spotsylvania County. I have a gifted student in 5th grade at Cedar Forest Elementary and a special needs student in 8th grade at Freedom Middle School. I'm one of the fortunate few parents that has a corporate job out of my home. Most parents in Spotsylvania County drive at least an hour to get a decent job, and this leaves their children juggling breakfast, late dinners, and limited support at home for homework day in and day out. Additionally, our schools have your school-age citizens during their prime learning time. And while the parents leave to get a decent pay to support their children, we need you to provide to their school system. It does take a village to raise children, and unfortunately, we don't have that infrastructure here in America, nor in Spotsylvania County. But we do pay taxes, and we do have the potential to impact these children, our children, your citizens, in a positive way. So let me paint a picture with my son, the 8th grader, who has Down syndrome. He wants to get a standard diploma and get a regular job like you and me. And Evan's team of teachers, school therapists, and after-school resources have catapulted him beyond his quote-unquote abilities. Now, here's the problem. All year long, his teachers had to juggle limited resources, limited time, and limited support for Evan and his peers. And with these limited resources, the kids are bundled together and ultimately cannot learn as much due to their distracting behaviors and obstacles. And keep in mind, the kids are taught grade-level material. And with our changing dynamics in Spotsylvania County, we are seeing students with more severe learning disabilities and obstacles. And without the added support, the kids and the staff cannot possibly achieve and make the most of their school days. We need these additional staff members, autism specialists, paraprofessionals, and social workers. Now let me paint another picture for you. On the other side of the spectrum, take my 5th grader. She's a gifted student. She's full of energy and wants to change the world now. She wanted to start a buddy program at Cedar Forest, and it did not fall on deaf ears. Mrs. Taft, Miss Amy Williams, Miss Rose, they all worked with her to create and maintain this critically important resource for the school and for its students. And do you think this would have been an option had her gifted resource teacher been running around supporting multiple schools? Do you think that these people spend countless of hours challenging our students and catapulting them for our nation's future? Now here's the problem. Why aren't we providing the support we need to keep challenging our gifted students so they can change the world? Why are we shortchanging them and spreading our gifted?
Ma'am, I'm sorry, but your time has expired.
Chrisanthe Euripides, followed by Nicole Flushy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chrisanthe Euripides, and I'm in the Lee Hill District. I'm a 5th grade student from Cedar Forest Elementary School. I am here to ask you for the full amount of money the school board has asked so that the students of Spotsylvania County have resources to reach their full potential. I just want to tell you what I see at my school. Our school participated in the 24 math tournament. We did a great job because of supported teachers like Miss Taft, Miss Nowakowski, and Mr. Cox who helped us. Our Destination Imagination team succeeded because of Miss Berner and staff like Miss Taft that funded the team and made sure we had a place to practice. I was succeeding with amazing teachers and resources, but that's not the case with every student at Cedar Forest. And at every school. There are a lot of students relying on breakfast from school, staying late with daycare, and my fellow classmates are struggling to keep up with their homework at home. Their parents aren't there to cook breakfast, make sure their homework is done, and to pick them up from school. This means that they need more support to succeed in school. That's why we need more teachers. That's why we need more resources. The future depends on us students, and you need to be there to support us. You can look at the charts and the statistics, but I'm with these students every day. So again, I ask you to fulfill out the school board's budget. You have options. You can vote to do nothing, you can vote to do something and get mediocre results, or you could fund the budget that Dr. Baker and his staff have proposed to you that will help us to succeed. Hopefully you have noticed now that this decision is easy. This is what our students need. We are hungry for learning and proper resources. Please feed our hunger and choose to fund the school board budget. Thank you.
Nicole Flushy, followed by Tracy Stone.
Well, that was an act to follow. Hello, my name is Nicole Flushy. I'm the Cortland representative for the Social Service Advisory Board, and I'm also the vice chair. I appreciate being able to speak on behalf of the SSAB tonight. I promise to keep this short and try not to trip over my own tongue. Dave can tell you I talk really fast, so I apologize. For those who don't know what we do, our board is comprised of appointed members from each of the 7 districts. We still need an appointee from the Battlefield District. We meet bi-monthly throughout the year, and we have additional meetings in November and December in order to address our duties regarding funding applications through social services. For those who want to get super technical and be bored out of their minds, our powers and duties are in the Code of Virginia, but I'm just going to focus on our recommendations for the budget. And I'd like to briefly explain how we get to those recommendations and kind of belay any concerns about our changes this year. For FY 2020, we reviewed 22 applications, which is about normal for us. Sometimes it's 26. We use a 2-tier scoring matrix to help us distill down the information and make sure we're meeting the needs of the citizens of Spotsylvania. Our first tier focuses on core service areas, so sustenance, shelter, and safety. We use this tier to help determine if a program is meeting the basic needs and definitely meeting those needs of our most vulnerable citizens. The second tier, we really dig into stuff on an agency's goals, outcomes, success rates, relationships in the community, and so forth. And this is where we try and really see, is this a viable program? Is this good for our citizens? And is this the best program we can offer? As a matter of practice, we never make decisions based on, well, we have X number of dollars, where should we put it? We never get to make that decision. Rather, we really kind of try and take each application as an individual and make sure it's meeting those core service areas and that it's meeting the needs of our population. We really want to make sure that our most vulnerable citizens are taken care of and that we're offering the best programs we can to the citizens of Spotsylvania. Yes, there were some notable changes in funding recommendations this year. We very carefully considered them because it is hard to come up with funding recommendations. And thankfully, my final point, as a board, we also keep apprised of changes in policy and public assistance, especially at the state and federal level. Of note is the gigantic Medicaid expansion that came down the pike. To be honest, the state and federal government don't really do a great job of telling you, here's how much staffing you're going to need to implement a program. So I'd just like you to keep in mind that, for instance, social services normally processes a couple hundred Medicaid applications every month. In December, they did over 900. That's a lot for one department. So sorry, but that is how it is. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and have a good evening. I was told to smile.
Tracy Stone, followed by Justin Langridge.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Stone. I am a resident of the Salem District. I'm also the proud mom of a junior in the Chancellor High School Lightning Regiment Marching Band. I'm also part of the parent board. I also happen to be a kindergarten teacher at Smith Station Elementary School. I am speaking this evening not only on behalf of the Chancellor Marching Band, but all marching bands in Spotsylvania County. If you're not a parent of a Spotsylvania County high school marching band student, you might not realize there is a huge disparity between the amount of funding given to athletics and the amount of funding given to marching bands across the county. Transportation costs for teams to travel to athletic events are fully funded, where the funding for marching bands is not funded. Transportation for teams to travel to these events are funded. Dr. Baker has generously allocated funds in his budget to assist all county marching bands with this. Members of the Board of Supervisors, we need your help by fully funding Dr. Baker's budget. I'd like to begin with a couple of numbers for you to consider. The first number is 18. 18 is the approximate number of hours my junior has spent in the marching band fundraising for the band. These hours don't even come close to the amount of time he spends practicing, or the number of hours he's marched in competitions, or the number of hours he's played in the stands during football games. 10 of these fundraising hours were spent in the cafeteria of Chancellor High School, helping to set up, run, and clean up a bingo fundraiser for the band last fall, as well as this past weekend. 6 of these hours were spent at the mall during the Christmas season, handing me bows and tissue paper while I wrapped presents for our band's annual gift wrap fundraiser. 2 more of these hours have been spent knocking on parents' doors, calling relatives to sell discount cards to area restaurants. We've had annual Band-Aid Day, washing cars at Checkers, selling pizzas and desserts. 18 hours for fundraising for the band. It's only March. This doesn't take into account other fundraisers scheduled for this year, such as our annual yard sale coming up on April 14th. Why so many hours spent fundraising? The cost of these competitions for band students is not currently supported by county funding. These costs are passed on to the parents of marching band students through parent fees. The second figure I'd like you to consider is 20. 20 is the number of hours that I or my husband have spent fundraising for the band as parents. These hours, again, were spent washing cars, attending bingo fundraiser meetings, canvassing local area businesses for donations for the 2 bingo nights we've held this year, running bingo nights, and working the Christmas gift wrap table at the mall. This doesn't even include the hours we've spent chaperoning competitions, providing food for the band for Friday night football games, creating a memory book of band competitions, or planning our year-end banquet this coming May. Chancellor band students and their parents work extremely hard. I don't regret a single dollar I've spent supporting the band. My son has matured and increased his self-confidence through the rigor and camaraderie that goes with participating in marching band. I glow with pride. I get tears in my eyes when I see him and these other kids perform after hours and hours of hard work. I'm proud of him. I'm proud to be part of such an important organization that's shaping him to become a fine young man. My request this evening is simple. Please consider granting Dr. Baker his full budget amount that he has requested. Marching band is just as important as athletics. We need your assistance in removing the current disparity between athletic and marching band funding. Please remember how hard our band kids and band parents work all year long. Please consider fully supporting Dr. Baker's budget so marching bands across the county can be assisted. This proud band mom thanks you.
Justin Langridge, followed by Peter Fotenhauer.
Good evening. I'll be speaking as an individual tonight. We have another member speaking. If I have my time reduced, please. Good evening. Justin Langridge, President of the Spotsylvania County Professional Firefighters Association, IAFF Local 3886, 9835 Courthouse Road. I'm a tax-paying voting resident of the Lee Hill District. We don't think it's our place as a labor organization to stand before you and tell you how to pay for things. We'll leave that all to you all. But we do think that it's important for you to fully understand and appreciate the specific needs. And tonight I continue to urge you to prioritize and fund the proposed public safety compensation plan in 2020. This modified compensation plan is desperately needed, and if the board could even support partial year funding for the plan, we think that that could go a very long way. Over the past several years, this board and many of you have taken significant steps to fund a strong public safety program. You've added numerous positions. Fire stations that sat empty not that long ago are now staffed 24/7. You've ensured that all of the county's districts have around-the-clock ALS medical providers, and you've provided my members with modern equipment, including a long-needed radio system upgrade that not only supports fire and rescue, but all levels and departments of county government. It's eliminated dead zones where everyone from our public safety personnel engaged in risky tasks to our school bus drivers, each responsible for the safety of dozens of students, all previously lacked the full ability to functionally communicate and call for help. As I've said before, the level of service that this county provides for the tax rate is impressive. County staff deserves recognition for their stewardship of taxpayer dollars, and as a board, you all deserve credit for the political restraint with the power to tax. However, as with anything, too much of any extreme can have undesired consequences, and I'm concerned that you may be approaching a critical mass breakdown in the public safety infrastructure that you've worked so hard to build. Equipment is only as good as the person using it, and the value of positions depends on who's filling them. Chief Cullinan and Sheriff Herrick presented it to you a couple of months ago. Frim had 5 vacancies at that time, now up to 12, more than half of last year's calendar year total, and more coming if something does not change. We will not and cannot pay like Fairfax or Prince William pays, but we must compete. The plan that was proposed to you is not a Cadillac plan. It's fair, and more importantly, it's effective. You have 2 directors, seniors in their field. I don't mean old, I mean they've been doing this for a very long time. They know what they're doing, and they're telling you what they think needs to happen. Please listen to them. Recognition prime decision-making is a model of how people make quick, effective decisions when faced with complex situations. It's the ability to quickly determine the problem, find a solution, and institute a solution based on previous experiences. As the association's president and as an individual, I have both safety and operational performance concerns due to that level of experience. Please help shore up what you've worked so hard to build so that we can get a solid footing, so that we can stop the revolving door, so that we can have not just trained but experienced firefighters and deputies serving our community. Thank you all for your support and for your efforts balancing this.
Sir, your time has expired.
Peter Fotenhauer, followed by Lori Hayes. Peter Fotenhauer, Lori Hayes, followed by Michael Berry.
Good evening. I'm Lori Hayes, and I live in the Lees Hill District. I'm here in support of the school board's budget, and I wanted to just explain, I believe we need to support our school system, even if it means a tax increase. I know nobody wants to talk about that, but the reality is they need it, and so I'm here in support of that. Our students deserve an education that prepares them for the future. Our teachers, paras, school administrators, and employees deserve a work environment where they feel supported. It's unfortunate that it takes teachers and administrators basically begging for help to get the community behind funding. We have devalued the profession of teaching by not supporting their needs, and this needs to stop. It's a disgrace. Additionally, I was pleased to see that there was some accommodation in the budget to assist with the cost of marching band. I'm not sure how the inequity of that started, and I'm not sure why it was allowed to continue, but the time has come for an equitable solution. We speak of how each student is important and meeting each student's needs, yet for whatever reason, athletics was allowed a financial pass, and band was left to shoulder the responsibility of expense for transportation and uniforms. This is nothing short of fostering a social class system that I thought we had moved beyond. This line item in the budget must remain in order to ensure fairness to our students. Thank you for all your hard work you do. I appreciate it.
Michael Berry, followed by Anthony LaFaro.
My name is Michael Berry. I am the chairman of the Fredericksburg, Virginia Patriots, and I am speaking to you as a resident of the Lee Hill District of Spotsylvania County. So the Fredericksburg, Virginia Patriots is a nonpartisan, conservative, grassroots organization dedicated to preserving and promoting the ideas and principles of our nation's founders as expressed in our founding documents. We are celebrating our 10-year anniversary, which was founded March 5th of 2009. We considered our civic duty to participate peacefully, respectfully, and lawfully in the political process in order to recapture the vision and the original intent of these founding documents. We identify and support lawmakers and officials who will enact legislation and policy in local government, Virginia Commonwealth General Assembly and Executive, and Congress and the National Executive that is consistent with our core values. We participate in peaceful public discourse through rallies, petitions, open debate, and personal interaction with our elected officials and candidates for office. We comply with a set of core values, which includes the rule of law, fiscal responsibility, accountability, and transparency of all governing entities. 2019 is a critical election year. At this Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors 2020 Budget Forum, it's important that we point out a few facts that the public should be reminded. Last year, the Evergreen initiatives were passed, which were on a schedule that put our public schools and their staff on a get-well plan to recoup the level of staff pay and benefits frozen after the Great Recession. We supported a flat rate last year in good faith. We did not request a tax decrease, even though our tax rates actually went up at home, because our property values increased, because we are on a good economy. And although the tax rate was frozen, we still had a tax raise. This year, our soon-to-be outgoing county administrator submitted a budget which would keep the tax rate level. In other words, no new increase to the tax rate and no new taxes required to meet the needs of the county. We thank Mr. Taylor for putting that budget forward, and we ask that we comply with that. Instead of it complying with the agreement from last year, which included a stepped increase of staff, the so-called Baker budget, which should be the Spotsylvania County Public School budget, not the Baker budget, has asked for a significant increase of resources to include everything, including the kitchen sink, with staff increases above the agreement last year. Let's be real. Attendance is flat at our schools. We are not realizing the projected growth new housing was supposed to generate. Performance of our students has been level. More money does not necessarily equate to performance, as demonstrated by the increases in funding we have shouldered over the last couple of years. More specifically, we are upset with the board of the school board, who passed a regulation basically trying to squash the free speech and interaction with their constituents on behalf of the school board. This was an absolute travesty. We want transparency. We also object to the relegation of every other department in Spotsylvania, second class, to the pecking order when it comes to funding. We have first responders, law enforcement, social services, and a host of other services that should be fairly considered for funding. Some of the biggest problems that this county is suffering, we recognize that substance abuse and addiction is a burden on our public resources that cannot be ignored. The business case for addressing this issue in an effective manner in keeping with our core principles, the biggest gap including addiction recovery. We received a brief from the Transitions for You ministry, who ministers to the families who are living in hotels. And they support the Spotsylvania Task Force for Addiction Recovery, or the STAR, to produce a cohesive policy for all departments in the fight against addiction. It affects crime, personal, family resources, punishment, and social services. The model has proven effective in West Virginia and New Jersey. We ask that the Board of Supervisors consider this in the upcoming years so that we can level our policy across the board and fight the actual problems that we've got in Spotsylvania. They affect both our schools and our social policy. Thank you very much for your time and for your service.
Anthony LaFaro, followed by Sherry Mosniak.
My name is Anthony LaFaro. I live in the Chancellor District. One of my biggest concerns about the proposed budget is that according to page 78, local transfer of funds, meaning our county funds to schools, go down $300,000, despite the fact that last year it was identified in the budget process that the needs would be greater this year in just meeting the basic requirements and continuing to fund the Evergreen study. That's despite an overall $24 million proposed increase in the overall county budget. This is unacceptable. You know, it's true, the firefighters have needs, the police officers have needs. We're getting $12 million more in new revenue, or projected new revenue, so where is our money going? Well, that can go back to something Dr. Trampy, our Salem District Supervisor, said at the last meeting, when we've only been experiencing 1% growth a year. So then why did all of you, in your first term of office, the majority of this board took office in 2012, was elected in 2011, approve 17 new developments at a cost of over $113 million in your first term alone, many of which you went against the recommendations of the very planning commission you chose, your own planning commissioners yourselves, and against the recommendations of staff. We are paying now for your decisions before. And during that time, over $150,000 in campaign donations were made to state and local representatives representing Spotsylvania County, just from those election cycles, including our Salem District Supervisor and our Deputy County Administrator, who's also a state delegate. Also unacceptable. We are paying now in our children's education for your greed, for your mismanagement of money, and that is unacceptable. You raise the taxes, but even if you gave every ounce of it to the schools, it wouldn't cover a third of the request. And we're still playing from behind to get what we need. One supervisor pointed out in the last meeting, one supervisor I've never seen support school funding, about the cost of band. Well, that's what happens when you stiff the school board. They have to make tough decisions. Don't shake your head. You did, you know it's true. Enough is enough. Here we are, you're getting more revenue, and the schools are getting stiffed more. And I support the firefighters. I support the sheriff's department. I support you being accountable for your actions for a change. This is ridiculous. We cannot continue to kick the can down the road. We are paying for infrastructure upgrades that developers should have paid for with money that should be going to our core services, our children's education, our firefighters, and our sheriff's department. You're all those same people are up for re-election this year, and I don't think a single one of you should be, because Spotsylvania County deserves better, and every one of you, I can say with assurance, will be challenged in this election and should be, because your performance is pathetic.
Sherry Mosniak, followed by Trey Talmadge.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Mosniak. I reside in the Lees Hill District. I've had 3 kids go through Spotsylvania High School. Actually, my oldest is a senior this year. I feel it is important to fully fund the school budget. The students and staff are the ones who suffer when the budget is not fully funded. The value of the school system is what draws people to live in this area. Having an educated community benefits the locality as it provides a skilled population to directly enter the workforce. Students go to college and to the military. We're losing staff to areas that pay more or to other industries because of the hours are less for the same or higher pay. Stafford County unanimously support the school budget that included a 5% raise, and they were already paying more than Spotsylvania County. We also lose employees to divisions further north. Some staff work more than 60 hours a week, not including work outside of the building and on weekends. I had more on here, but also I'm also a proud parent of a kid in the Gladys Todd program that President Gullickson had mentioned earlier. Without Livingston, without Post Oak, and without Spotsylvania High School, my son has Tourette's. He was diagnosed in 3rd grade. He also has social anxiety, OCD, dysgraphia, something called arithmomania. You can look it up. And without all the support that all of these teachers and social workers and counselors, the nurse, having him come into the bathroom to use the bathroom in the clinic because he socially could not go into the main bathroom. The people that prepare the 504 plans. Without all of these people, there is no way my son would have gotten through elementary school, middle school, and high school. And pretty sure he's going on to William and Mary. There's no way. Also about the band thing, he's also in marching band this year. Never played an instrument in his life, decided to join it his senior year. I freaked out when I saw how much I had to pay. I'm a single parent. I do not make a lot of money, but I was fully on one end of, I can't believe I have to pay all this. I can't believe this, the school doesn't pay for all this stuff. About a week ago, he and I had a conversation, and he said, it's kind of ridiculous that I felt that way, is what he told me. He said, because working that hard every summer, having to do all of those things has made him a better person, and it has made him more responsible, knowing that he has to work hard, and he expects me to work hard for him. So I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I agree that they should be funded, but I also agree that they do have to work for it. Thank you.
Trey Talmadge, followed by Vivica Berry.
Good evening. My name is Trey Talmadge. I'm here representing the Massaponax Band Parents Association this evening. I'm also a voter in the Lee Hill District. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the proposed school budget. In addition to funding many needed positions and raises for our teachers, this budget also includes much needed support for our county band programs. First, this budget includes money to cover transportation for our marching bands. Last year, the county funded buses for athletics and many other activities without charging activity fees to our students. However, bands were left to fund their own transportation costs for their competitions. Our county band students deserve equity with these other student organizations. There should be no debate that those funds are necessary. Otherwise, the county sends a clear message that it considers our band students unimportant. Second, this budget includes the start of a rotating uniform fund, which is like those provided in Stafford and other surrounding counties. This fund, over the course of time, would provide new uniforms to each county band once every 10 years. I know that you've heard folks speak on this topic at previous meetings. These uniforms should be a source of pride when our students wear them at activities. However, it's difficult to feel that pride when the uniforms are in disrepair. These funds really only scratch the surface at the many expenses that our band programs have. Our county booster organizations, including Massaponax, are working hard through dues and fundraising to provide for the many needs of our bands. In addition to paying for transportation and uniforms, our boosters pay for school-owned instruments. That's right, we're buying instruments that we are giving to the schools. We're paying for music composition, show design. We're paying for staff to come and teach these kids the needed skills. And we're paying for many other expenses of the bands. We do this because we believe in band as an activity that benefits our students not only in music, but also in academics, teamwork, leadership, and yes, physical fitness. I defy any of you to tell one of our tuba players who's carried a 50-pound tuba around for an 8-hour rehearsal that they're not getting exercise. While we're actively fundraising, we receive the majority of funds to use to cover these costs through the payment of fees. I know that some of you have asked about the possibilities of reducing or eliminating these fees. And while that's a fantastic goal, it's a goal that likely can't be achieved in a single budget cycle, as you've heard many other needs here tonight from our safety and teachers and other things. But these funds do represent a good start in that effort. I also know there's been some discussion about maybe a one-time payment that would be helpful for capital expenses the bands may have, depending on their needs, such as uniforms, instruments, etc. Understand that any funds that we would get for our band programs would be very useful and be put to good use. However, only a consistent and recurring commitment within the budget would drive down fees for most of our band programs. By supporting this budget as has been proposed, you send a clear message to the band families in every voting district that you value our band students and their activities. I thank you for your interest, your support for our band programs, and look forward to seeing this budget pass and these funds become a lasting reality for our students. Thank you.
Vivica Berry, followed by Wanda Stroh.
Sorry, I didn't hear my name. Whoa. Okay, so I'm Vivica Berry from Lee Hill. And the main thing I wanted to say tonight is before we give more funding to the school board, and I understand that we all have priorities and they're all very important, I would like to see an independent audit. And I'd like to see the school board work like these small, fabulous nonprofits that we've heard from tonight that have $3,000 and they're squeezing a dime out of a penny. I'm very active with the families living in the motels. They're 2.5 miles from my home, right off the 95. They're not here tonight. Most of them don't have cars to drive, and they're scraping by from one day to the next to stay with a roof. And they need help. We have an incredible drug problem going on in our community, which we're really not addressing. We had town hall things last year, and then what happened? Nothing really. Most of the people living in the motels have drug problems. The Rappahannock jail is incredibly understaffed. And anyone who has a loved one there would know they're constantly in lockdown, and there are no programs for them to get access to. They can barely get into a Christian service. And finally, I know that we have a good economy, but that doesn't mean it's that great. If it was that great, we wouldn't have two parents working, getting on the 95 and driving north Who wants to do that? I was at one point very active in working on the bullying situation in the schools until I got overwhelmed and haven't been back. It was also very discouraging to work hard on something that never really gets anywhere. So I'd like to hear about what's going on to address bullying in the schools. That bullying creates lots of problems, needs for more programs, more help. A lot of parents are paying their own medical and psychiatric bills for what's going on with kids. So we have all this money. Why can't we get the money to do an audit? Why can't we have line items that an average person like me could read to see what's spent on what? And why can't we sit down, instead of raising taxes, keep them flat and look for ways to fund some of these other critical needs? And I'm sorry that I'm not here with a busload of friends of mine tonight, but everything does cost money, doesn't it? Thank you.
Wanda Stroh, followed by Stephanie Burchett.
Hello, I'm Wanda Stroh, and I am from the Livingston District. First of all, I would like to thank you for increasing or advertising the tax rate a little bit higher. I am here to support the school budget. And I guess I'm also here because by supporting the school budget and giving our children, in return, we will be investing in our future and we will be investing in the empowerment of our community. Thank you again for advertising the budget. Now we're almost there. Now as we sit today and try to figure out what to do, I think that we need to think about our teachers have been grossly underfunded, so have our schools. And we just started to scratch the surface. We did the Evergreen study, and it told us where we need to be at. Dr. Baker have done his best to try to work with what we have, but it's not enough what we have to support our students and to help our economy grow. All of you know that with education, we can start to eliminate a lot of the problems that are happening within our society. It brings unity. It brings people to become empowered and to know this is what I need to do for a better future. I just want you guys to keep that in mind as you're sitting there and thinking about what is it that we're going to do next. On the same token, I always hear, well, we don't have the money. We cannot fund it. What we can do with this? Well, we have been getting a little bit more. And I always think about something that I read. A 12-year-old boy had his weekly allowance and went to the arcade. And when he went to the arcade, spent his money. Then he went to the Sunday school, and he told the teacher, the Sunday school teacher, I believe in the church, and I believe in what you guys are doing here. But I don't have the money to help you with this. So if we sit here and we think about that we need to start allocating funding for our children, and allocating them in the right ways, maybe that will help us. We allocated funding for other services. Now it's time to go ahead and allocate the fundings and fully support the school budget. Thank you so much.
Stephanie Burchett, followed by Kim Stanzak.
Good afternoon. I am Stephanie Burchett. I am a voting member in the Berkeley District. I am here to address question number 19 off of your website, as well as the need to adequately fund the school budget. I am a stay-at-home mother this year, but I am also an educator who will be going back in August, as well as the wife of a veteran and a up-and-coming kindergartner. I tell my students to be the change they want to see in the world, so I'm here to give them a voice today. As an educator, I have never once felt that I couldn't teach a student regardless of their needs. It's not up to us to deny a child a free and appropriate education, nor to deny children's services within our school system. Educators work hard every day to build a relationship with their students, and they create little-known success stories in their classroom every single day. If we want to see an increase in enrollment, we need to ensure that our schools are equipped with highly qualified educators and staff. We need to have a competitive salary that attracts stable teachers and in turn attracts stable people that will want their kids to learn in a 21st century learning environment that is inclusive of all students. I challenge you to go into any classroom in our county, and I promise your perspective will never be the same. As we talk about the demographics changing, we have to remember that all students should be included. I do not think our question should be where are all of the students who don't require special services, are English speaking, and are financially stable. I think we need to ask, how are we going to ensure that we have what we need to pour into the students that are here so that they too, like me, coming back here to the county, will feel connected to this community, return, and give back. Thank you.
Kim Stanzak, followed by Dawn Napper.
Hi, I'm Kim Stanzak, representing the Livingston area, and I am here on behalf to support the tax increase to fully fund Dr. Baker's school budget. Why? Because our community, our schools, and our kids are in desperate need for more school counselors and social workers. You may not really know what an elementary school counselor does, because honestly, I didn't really know before I became one 14 years ago. I knew the basics. You go into classrooms monthly to provide preventative lessons, run small groups, and meet with individuals to solve little problems. I didn't realize back then that I'd be one counselor for over 700 students, while the recommendation is one for every 250. I didn't realize that I wouldn't have time to run my small groups effectively because I frequently would need to cancel due to emergencies. I didn't realize the emergencies of an elementary school would consist of risk assessments. We're talking 5-year-olds to 12-year-olds who want to die. Threat assessments, that's the risk to other people. Tons of referrals to Child Protective Services, and the death of someone super significant within their life. I didn't realize children carry the weight of the world on their little shoulders, much more weight now than any of us ever did growing up. We are seeing an increase in self-harm and violence across the nation. Spotsylvania is not exempt. We have a fantastic team of mental health people in the schools trying to make every moment of the day count. I come before my contract hours and I stay way after. I am a 10-month employee, but I still work in the summer. I don't even remember the last time I ate lunch that wasn't with a student or on the way to deal with something in the hallway. I don't say any of that to complain. I say that because I squeeze every second out of the day for my students. I am proud of the work I do and the success stories. However, it breaks my heart when I think of the 20-plus notes I still have sitting on my desk from today that I didn't get to, or the student that has terrible things going on but gets overlooked in the sea of others, or when the kids see me running down the hall and say, "I wanted to see you, Miss Stanzak, but I know that you're too busy for me." These kids are the future. We need to be teaching them how to self-regulate and make healthy choices. We need to teach them how to socialize appropriately and problem solve. We need to teach them how to deal with their emotions. We need smaller ratios of students to counselors and social workers. Mental health needs to be a top priority in our county. These kids' futures depend on it. Thank you.
Dawn Napper, followed by Teresa Tempesta.
Good evening, gentlemen. Just to let you know how important this is, I am 2 weeks out of a major surgery and probably should be at home laying on my couch. But I want to let you know some of the positions and the schools that are going to not have those positions probably because we won't be able to fully fund the budget. So Mr. Benton, in your district, Livingston was supposed to get all the elementaries should have had a half counselor. Yours, Livingston, was supposed to get a para and a social worker. Post Oak was supposed to get a school safety officer. Spotsy High, a math, history, English teacher, a special ed teacher, and a counselor. Nye River, counselor, social worker, and school safety officer. Brock Road, a counselor, social worker, and para. Mr. Marshall, Berkeley Elementary, 3 speds and a para. Thornburg, a social worker, English, history. 2 sped teachers, a school safety officer, and a counselor. Riverview, 2 general ed teachers, a sped teacher, a social worker, a counselor, and a para. Massaponax, 2 sped teachers, Cedar Forest, 2 general eds, a para, sped, and a counselor. Parkside, 2 general ed teachers, a sped, a social worker, 2 paras, and a counselor. Spotsy Middle, English, sped, social worker, school safety officer, and counselor. Robert E. Lee, a counselor and a para. Mr. Ross, Riverbend was supposed to get a cybersecurity teacher, which is a very hot topic right now. Chancellor Elementary, a para and a counselor. Salem Elementary, 2 general ed teachers, a counselor and a para. Mr. McLaughlin, Chancellor, Wilderness Elementary, counselor and para. Smith Station, counselor and para. Dr. Trampy, Chancellor Middle School, school safety officer, science and history teacher, a counselor, and a school social worker. Harrison Road, a sped teacher, 2 paras, a counselor, and a school social worker. Chancellor High, a counselor, 2 sped, cybersecurity, school social worker, and I know you guys don't like the Teacher for Tomorrow program. Battlefield, counselor and para. Battlefield, that was elementary. This is middle now. English teacher, school social worker, counselor. Freedom, PE, sped, social worker, counselor, school safety officer. Battlefield, Mr. Yakubowski, Spotswood, sped and counselor. Courthouse Road, sped, 2 paras, social worker, counselor. Cortland, 1 general ed, a para, and a counselor. Cortland High, counselor. Career and Tech Center, we're supposed to get a vet and science person. And I think that might, Mr. Skinner, you only have Lee Hill. Counselor, social worker, and a para. So those 149 positions were going to different schools, and they were going to make a giant difference. And the bullying problem, more people.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, but your time has expired.
Teresa Tempesta, followed by Gary Sexton.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Tempesta, Berkeley District. I'm also a 20-year veteran here at Massaponax High School. Very glad to go after Ms. Napper because what I'd like to address are positions as well, particularly special ed, which apparently 2 of them were supposed to come here to Massaponax High School. As a history teacher here at Massaponax, over 20 years, I've had the opportunity to work with many special ed teachers in a variety of ways. One of the most successful was as a collaborative or inclusion teacher, in which I was the content expert, and every block, a special ed teacher would come in to the class with me, having already ahead of time planned and implemented a lesson that we would teach together to all of the students, including the special ed students, and would have the opportunity to work with the students as a whole class, in small groups, individually, and to do remediation to make them successful. Over the years, however, because of budget cuts, positions have declined. Today, it looks very different. Our Teacher of the Year last year for Massaponax was a special ed teacher, a Massaponax graduate who came back to teach and coach here. This year, she works with 4 different teachers over 6 classes with 4 subjects. 5 of those classes are required for graduation by the students who take them by both the county and the state of Virginia. She spends 40 minutes with 1 teacher in government, then she goes to the second half to spend 40 minutes with another teacher in government, then the next block she goes to 12th grade English for 40 minutes with 1 teacher, then she goes to another class for 40 minutes with that teacher, then she does self-contained for 80 minutes with some kids, then she does reading and writing strategies with another group of kids. This is not going to benefit our students, and that teacher is clearly overworked because on top of that, she also has to maintain a caseload of at least a dozen children. She's responsible for the legal paperwork, the meetings, and the communication for every person involved with that student and their education, including parents, administrators, other teachers. We need these positions. We need more than 2 at Massaponax, I can tell you that. And that's just kids working with mainstream students, which don't even make up all of our special ed students and their needs. Our numbers may have gone down, perhaps, but the diversity hasn't. The other types of special ed students, their needs, they change from year to year. They can be very expensive for equipment, for other positions like paras. It is incredibly necessary to fund our budget, to provide these positions, to give our students the best future and the best opportunities. It is your duty. You need to do this. Please vote on the advertised tax rate and promote this budget for all of our groups, but especially education. Thank you very much.
Gary Sexton, followed by Candace Keenan.
Good evening, servant leaders for Spotsylvania County. I'm Gary Sexton. I live and vote in the Lee Hill School District. I also work at Gold's Gym for Grandfathers. That is, after a 27-year active Army officer career, I decided to be a paraeducator in one of the finest schools in our county. I'm a proud Cardinal who works amongst fellow Cardinals, those who have the attitudes of eagles and soar like condors. When you think about the school budget, I'd invite you to consider what a lot of commanders struggle with when they're trying to build a ready and capable Army or any formation. They're oftentimes challenged with trying to figure out, where do I put my resources? Do I put them in the prevention side of taking care of soldiers and their families, or do I end up spending it in the treatment side because we've got symptoms and problems and issues? You will get more bang for your buck. You'll get more return on your investment if you put most of your money on the prevention side. And I would submit that the prevention side in our county budget is the school system. It's more than obvious and been said many times that this very strong needs-based budget is a response to a shift in our demographics, not so much because there's been a decline in the number of students, but there's been a wholesale change in the nature of our clientele. We have kids who are struggling because they find themselves coming out of failing families and other institutions in our community. And oftentimes it is the school that is the backstop to those institutions. Dr. Baker quotes Jim Collins from time to time when he says, there's a way to go from good to great. And part of that is to find out how to put the right person in the right seat on the bus. And I say to you, my fellow citizens, that his budget is not frilly, it's not wasteful, it's well thought out, and it builds into our community the kind of team members in special ed professionals, social workers, et cetera, who can respond to the shifting needs of our kids. These kids are destined to become the ready and capable citizens that will lead our constitutional republic. We need to invest in them. We need to take the long view. We need to squeeze the piggy bank and see if there's at least one more squeal for our county schools.
Candace Keenan, followed by Chris McIntosh.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. My name is Candace Keenan, and I've been asked to speak tonight on behalf of the PTA and parents of Brock Road Elementary. But most importantly, I stand here tonight as a mom who has a vested interest in providing my daughters with a solid educational foundation during their elementary years. This is our first year here at Spotsy Public School System. My husband's job has required that we move about every year. This has allowed me to bear witness to a variety of public school systems across the country and see how investing in each child's education truly makes a profound impact upon their lives. Elementary school sets the tone for success, despite it often being overlooked and seen as inconsequential. Without a solid foundation to grow and develop from, by the time a student reaches middle or high school, it's often too late to have a lasting impact. The vast majority of students entering the doors through Brock Elementary need much more than traditional education. For some of these children, this is their first experience with structure, rules, and social interaction. The demands put on teachers to not only prepare these students academically, but also to mold them into successful individuals is too much for one person to handle. It takes a village. It takes a village in today's world to address all of the needs of the children of our community that our community is faced with. The mental health aspect of our students is paramount to our success as a school, as a county, and as our future as a whole. It's often easier to address the physical safety of our schools rather than invest in the intangible pieces mental health resources require. It's not my children, we always want to say. But they are our children because they're our children's classmates, they're our neighbors, they're our community, and they're our future. I'm in full support of the proposed budget because I believe every child deserves the opportunity to be great, not just those in private school or not those that are homeschooled. I respect every parent's choice in the type of education they decide for their children, but the majority of parents don't have that choice. I understand that there are those against the new budget. Maybe their children are grown or homeschooled, or parents are already paying for private school. But what we have to remember is that over 90% of our nation's children come from the public school system. If we choose to not invest in the public schools, nothing else matters. Everything else is impacted down the road: crime, medical, social services, leadership, government. We cannot expect success in the future if we don't expect success in our youth. I thank everyone for this opportunity to stand here before you tonight, and I encourage everyone to give these kids the future that we all deserve.
Chris McIntosh, followed by Frankie Webster.
Gentlemen, good evening. My name is Chris McIntosh. I live in the Battlefield District, and I'm here tonight to speak to you particularly about the budget as pertains to public safety, but kind of give you a little bit of insight as to what some of these transplants that are coming down from the Northern Virginia region are experiencing, what they're expecting when they come down here, as I myself am a transplant from that region. I lived in Fairfax County for 29 years before I moved down here, and they're growing up within the Fairfax County school system. They are widely considered to be one of the best school systems in the nation. Schools down here, from my understanding, my kids aren't into them yet, are also held in very high regard. However, budgeting is definitely a thoughtless process, a thankless process rather. I don't envy anybody who has to go through this process on a yearly basis. However, I would like you to consider going and supporting the 86 cent proposed tax rate. As we all know, the fire chief and the sheriff have both proposed a public safety compensation plan that would help us retain qualified personnel within our system. We have a wide range with both the fire service and within the sheriff's office, a wide range of personnel with a wide range and varying levels of training and expertise, and we need to retain those employees that have an extensive amount of experience and expertise. We're no longer in the days of we can just go down the road, pick somebody up, haul them to the hospital, and not really think about them other than stare at them on the way down the road, or all we do are go to house fires. We're an all hazards agency now. We have to be able to do a multitude of things and work at a very high level during all of that, and we can't afford to bleed our experienced employees to these other agencies. Everyone that's moving down here from the Northern Virginia region expects us to be operating at a very high level because that's what they're used to. And if we're constantly having a revolving door where we only have minimally trained personnel, we can't operate at that level that they would like and would expect us to be operating under. I'm a father. My job is to maintain, provide for my household, and provide for the safety and security of my children. And I have to be able to balance their needs against my needs. I love the fire service. I've been doing it for 17 and a half years. I can't see myself doing anything else, but at the same time, I have to look out for the best needs of my household. And if the best needs of my household means that I have to make a hard decision, that's the hard decisions I have to make. Thank you for your time, and have a good evening.
Frankie Webster, followed by Catherine Palmer.
Good evening. My name is Frankie Webster. I'm a member of Spotsylvania Career Firefighters Association, IAFF, Local 3886, Our office is at 9835 Courthouse Road in the Battlefield District. I reside in Chesterfield County. I'm here tonight to speak about current pay issues and express how this will affect my family and I. My wife Jessica and son, my 2-year-old son Ezra, are my world. I have been an employee in the county for 3 years. I leave home and travel a little over an hour here through several other localities that have structured pay plans for their employees. I knew when I fell in love with my career that I would not become a millionaire doing this. That was never the goal. The goal was to serve people, which is my passion, and provide a decent life for my family. And I love serving the citizens here in Spotsylvania. I've seen so much economic growth here and amazing changes within Frem alone. I, however, have concerns about my future here. The vacancies that we have within our department has begun to take a toll on our employees due to us being held over often to fulfill the staffing needs of the community. Like everyone else here, I have a duty to provide for my family first. I spend a lot of time at work to ensure my family's financial stability, and Ezra now realizes how often Daddy's not home. My fear is that without a structured STEP program being in place, that someday soon, I'll have to leave the community that I love to serve and seek employment elsewhere to ensure my family has a solid financial future. Without a structured pay plan in place, I've seen several people who I have looked up to over the past 3 years leave Spotsylvania and go to neighboring jurisdictions for a significant increase in pay to do the exact same job with less hours worked. I'm speaking of seasoned, tenured employees that know the Spotsylvania area and system like the back of their hands. I also see every day where some senior firefighters that I look up to and that have years of knowledge and experience mention how defeated they feel that there not being relief with our compression problems and the lack of a STEP program. These firefighters who have dedicated so many years of service to this community make nearly what I do as a 3-year employee. I also see that I, as an ALS provider, am only within a few cents of what my BLS counterparts make hourly. With my ALS certification comes a great deal of responsibility. I speak of pay differences because compression is a big problem within public service here in Spotsylvania. I'll wrap my 3 minutes up, which is a part of my vacation time that I've taken to be here tonight, with saying that for me to continue to serve this community that I love serving would simply be selfish if the proposed public safety compensation plan or a competitive STEP program is not implemented for me to work towards. It wouldn't be fair to Ezra. Thank you.
Catherine Palmer, followed by Dale Swanson.
Good evening, all. My name is Catherine Palmer, and I reside in the Lee Hill District. When I first heard the superintendent's preliminary budget presentation last November, I was thrilled to see glimpses of some bold steps to address key needs in local education. For example, those of us who have bemoaned the teach-to-the-test climate of the last 20 years are excited about the innovative ways Spotsy schools are taking advantage of changes in state laws that move us away from the SOLs. Those of us who are concerned about the huge challenges that students and staff face relative to bullying are very excited about more staff in the buildings and new district-level discipline staff. As I've watched the budget develop, I've been thrilled about almost every aspect of it, but especially more counselors to support our students and our staff. Over and over, I've thought to myself, wow, the needs are finally being laid bare. As I've listened to the debate that has occurred since the school board passed their budget, I've been disheartened by one key aspect. It seems to me that many do not believe the need. Rather than focus on the solutions presented in this budget, and there are many, I've heard question after question about data and details and not the clear and significant needs presented. So I'm here to ask you to believe the need. Believe that it costs more to educate students today than it did even a year ago. Believe that the needs of our students cannot be measured only by the numbers of people enrolled. Believe that our schools must adapt in order to prepare students for success in the workforce, whether or not their path is college. Increases in many departments on the county side of the budget show that you do understand that needs change and grow in ways that don't directly relate to population growth. I simply ask that you apply that same understanding to the school's budget. Believe the need, and the right decisions will follow. Thank you for your time.
Dale Swanson, followed by Audrey Gardier.
Good evening. My name is Dale Swanson. I live in the Cortland voting district. And I've had way too many years coming to these budget sessions. I've lived in Spotsylvania County most all of my life. I have a son that graduated from Spotsylvania schools, and he's now 48 years old. We've heard a lot about deserving tonight. In the words of Clint Eastwood, sometimes deserve's got nothing to do with it. I think my son, myself, a lot of seniors in this county deserve to be able to stay in our home. My son works in this county. He makes $19 an hour. I said he's 48 years old, and he's been working since he graduated from high school. There's a lot of people in his position that don't make a lot of money. They deserve to be able to live in Spotsylvania County. He grew up here. He loves this county. I love this county. I'm going to be taxed out of my home. I've had 2 tax increases in the last 2 years, and you're going to do another one. Thank you, Mark Taylor, for your budget. It says we don't need new tax increases. I don't believe we do. If you look at Dr. Baker's budget, you will find that it's hardly bare bones. They're continuing with a failed IB program that's costing us hundreds of thousands of dollars, with only 3 of 14 graduating. This year, only 5 students enrolled. All this while our student population is continually declining, we're asking for more and more money. You guys don't get to say how the schools spend their money. Their budget is not transparent. We've been asking for it to be transparent for years. So I would ask you to go back and look at their budget. Take a deep look at their budget if you can read it. Go back through the county's budget and do a good deep scrubbing, because I don't think any of these budgets are bare bones. I saw where the school is asking for $41,000 for food. Go back and look at some of the things that they're requesting. It's not about the kids. It's about the administration. We find out that the teachers with the Evergreen study are making market and above. Some of the administrators are making 28% above market. So if it's about the school and the kids, let's put the money back to them. I ask you not to raise our taxes this year, because some of us that have lived in this county all our lives, and some of the...
Ma'am, I'm sorry, but your time has expired. Thank you.
Audrey Gardier, followed by Scott Cook.
I am Audrey Gardner, and I've been in my home for 25 years. And I can afford to live in my house. I cannot afford to continue to have tax increases. Social Security is part of my life now. I've worked hard for many years, and it's not a charity program that I receive Social Security. I don't feel that I have to contribute to the $41,000 for the staff to have lunch out in the schools. And I don't believe that I have to pay for a number of the other programs where a parent should be taking the responsibility. All these years as a parent and a grandparent, I have watched my grandchild take care of his younger sister, made sure she had her breakfast because the mom had to get up and go to work. I don't know that there are many children that do that, and I think part of the problem is that as parents, we're not expecting children to step above themselves and take care of themselves and possibly help with someone else. And I don't think that the Board of Supervisors have to kowtow to the, I won't say, the person who does the school budget. The school budget is not scrutinized to the level it should be. And I think if you spend the time scrutinizing the budget, you'll see many items that are not really necessary. I appreciate the hard work that you gentlemen do, and I do know you don't receive compensation for the hours that you spend. But I think a closer look at the school budget will show that we do not need to increase our taxes again. The assessment has gone up. You're getting more money through that assessment increase. And the asking for increased services, again, I think we need to be a little stricter and let people know that they have to take responsibility for themselves. We cannot, the government cannot take care of everyone all the time. We need a backbone in our individual lives. Thank you. And I know this is not exactly what a lot of people want to hear. All I can say is, too bad.
Scott Cook, followed by Nicole Cole.
Yes, I'm Scott Cook. I reside in the frugal Livingston district, and I would very much like to not have a tax increase. Maybe that horse has already left the stable, so maybe a minimum tax increase, certainly not the 3 cents. And some things I would like you to consider in short order: some kind of freeze on taxes for seniors that have paid and paid and paid, and their children have long graduated from Spotsylvania schools and gone on. And as previous speakers have mentioned, we would like to stay here in this county, and we need some tax relief to do that. Second, I would like you to give some funding to the emergency services that is in need of it. It seems to be their turn. And third of all, I would agree with the last 2 speakers about scrutinizing the school budget. I'm all for students, I'm all for teachers, and there's been a lot of requests for all kinds of teacher aids and band programs, and I'm not against any of that, but the school administration is top-heavy, even according to the Evergreen study, and a lot of this money that's in this budget is not reaching the students or the teachers. It's getting eaten up in this huge bureaucracy, and it's not lost on me the fact that to the west of this auditorium we have the school board building, and to the east we have train tracks, and I think we're getting railroaded. So I think that you should examine the school budget and see if we can cut a little bit. Thank you.
Nicole Cole, followed by Emily Tosh.
Good evening to the Board of Supervisors, and thank you for your attention. My name is Nicole Cole. I'm a voting homeowner in the Battlefield District. I have 3 children in Spotsylvania County schools, 2 at Cortland High School and 1 at Spotsy Middle. I moved here from Montgomery County, Maryland, one of the top school districts in our nation. One reason it's the best is because the county invests in its students. There, the real property tax rate is 0.93% versus 0.85% in Spotsy, and theirs is a growing economy as well. I am a financial advisor by profession, so I know the importance of return on investment. Why can't Spotsylvania be more competitive for new business, qualified teachers, and development? Because we aren't competitive for talent, trained students, technology, or educational facility improvement. We can't attract and retain enough qualified teachers because we aren't investing in them. Last year, I went to a Spotsylvania Economic Development breakfast where I believe it was Dr. Gullickson who quoted this statistic. 50% of Spotsy students are doing nothing after graduation. It's a travesty. When about 1,900 seniors, 800 individuals are annually not supporting their community's economy because they aren't gainfully employed, not seeking higher education, not buying homes, etc. The return on investing in students is tremendous. An educated population creates skilled workers, philanthropists, entrepreneurs, caregivers, homeowners, investors, taxpayers, and opportunities. We need more counselors and qualified instructors who will have time to ask students in 8th and 9th grades, what are your goals? Rather than just collecting curriculum forms from students because they don't have time to do any more. Spotsy Middle alone has a 400+ to 1 student to counselor ratio. Unacceptable. Our school board is making terrible concessions with infrastructure, staffing, and resourcing because you're tying their hands, because you haven't adequately funded our school system. Compared to Fairfax, Richmond, Henrico, and other similar counties in Virginia, Spotsylvania is significantly behind, and it's because of the lack of investment in education. I implore you to think long-term. Yes, vote to fund the requested 2019 school board budget and seek opportunities to invest further in the success of Spotsylvania County's public schools, students, citizens, faculty, and staff. Thank you.
Emily Tosh, followed by Tabby Ahmed.
Good evening, school board members. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Emily Tosh. I'm a mother of 2 children that attend Brock Road Elementary School in the Livingston District. I also speak as a former public school teacher and a current classroom and school volunteer. I am here to request that you fully fund the proposed budget that will allow the Spotsylvania County Public Schools to attract, retrain, and invest in high-quality teachers and staff. You all have already heard tonight of all the reasons why we need this. As a former public school teacher, I know how hard teachers work and how passionate they are about providing the best possible education to our kids. I know I speak for many other parents when I say we want to attract and retrain the brightest and the best teachers for our children. And we want our children and all children in the community to receive an excellent 21st century education in this county. My husband and I have been very impressed with the teachers that our children have had so far, and we don't want them to leave and go elsewhere where they can be paid more, because people do that. We've talked to many people that end up having to make that decision. We also are very passionate about making sure that an excellent education is promoted by having teachers that are well cared for and are well compensated. So that brings me to number 2 of Dr. Baker's budget, the importance of increasing student learning and achievement. As a mother of 2 children in the gifted program, I can vouch for the tremendous need to improve this part of our programming in our schools. In our schools, in the Spotsylvania County Public Schools, we only have enough funding to provide K-2 gifted students with a total of 30 minutes per week of enrichment. So think about that. That's a 6-hour day, 6-hour-plus day, so that's more than 30 hours a week that our children are in school. They get 30 minutes a week for gifted services. And then it increases a little bit after that in upper elementary, but it's not by much. At our school, we are fortunate to have a fantastic full-time gifted ed teacher, but I know that many of these schools do not have a full-time teacher. They share that gifted teacher with other schools, or they teach gifted and then they're also required to teach other classes. And so they just simply cannot meet all the needs of these gifted students. So I implore you to encourage supporting the fully funded budget so that we can have enough of these gifted teachers in all of our schools. I also encourage you to consider the needs of supporting things like extracurricular activities. You heard about the band, the need for band. Even at the elementary school level, there are many parents who would love to see our schools be able to support things like cooking classes or foreign language or drama or chorus opportunities before or after school. I know that a friend of mine is a teacher in Stafford, and they have these schools in their elementary schools, and they are funded by the district. These teachers do get paid to provide these extra opportunities. And my husband and I are fortunate to send our kids to private piano lessons. My daughter's in a choir up in DC. I had to miss it tonight to be here, but I felt like it was really important. But we can afford to do that, but many of these students cannot. And so I encourage you to consider those as well.
Tabby Ahmed. There are no other citizens signed up to speak.
Is there anyone who did not sign up who wishes to speak at this time?
Seeing none, we'll close the.
Got one.
Got one? Okay.
Hi, my name is Jamie Ashton. I'm in the Salem district. I didn't plan on speaking tonight, but after hearing everybody here, it's troublesome. I wonder, do the builders and developers have to sit in front of you and beg for money so they can pay their employees? Do they go through everything everybody's going here with the urgency and the pleas and the begging to get their needs when those subdivisions, those neighborhoods, those shopping centers, that's where the infrastructure money needs to be coming from, not people spending time away from their families to come beg for it. And I respect the elders who don't want the tax increases and say they don't have kids in school. They might not now, but the kids that are in school now are going to be potentially the doctors, the pharmacists that fill their medicine, the EMS that go and help them. It's just ridiculous. I urge you to please fund Dr. Baker's budget, fund the firefighters and the sheriff's department. That's the bare roots of our society. It is just mind-blowing that we're in a situation where we have to come beg for the bare basics. That's all I have to say.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm a retired firefighter with Spotsylvania County, and also with the local, here speaking on behalf of the local. Just to reiterate, the funding issue and the critical mass that you're going to reach that Mr. Langridge spoke about. 2003, I was the 78th career person hired in this county. In a very short period on that seniority list, I dropped down within the first 20. That was within a 2 or 3 year period. Within the next 5 years or so, we were going through a 3 and 5 year turnover. And I can tell you, those turnovers, the people that left, were good people, quality people. They left because of the other jurisdictions that were offering more money for the same job. Okay, so a better life for their families, like Mr. Webster spoke about. I strongly urge that you go ahead and approve the budget, the plan, the pay plan for the district, also for the teachers, also for the police officers. They're going to be the core people here. There's a commercial from back in the day that I can just think of when I think of what's going on. And it's pretty much you can pay for it now or you can pay for it later. Because down the road, if these problems aren't fixed and we don't retain these people, and we don't retain the experience levels that are needed to fulfill these jobs and do them safely and efficiently, it's just going to cost you in the long run. Just like to say thank you.
Sir, could you state your name and your voting district, please?
Chris Albertella, and it would be through the local in the, which district is that? There you go, 9835 Courthouse Road.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all. I'm here to ask you to fully support the school budget as it's been presented to you. Each piece, each position is carefully looked at to support a law. The Individuals with Disability Education Act requires that students be given free and appropriate education. It requires that they be placed in the least restrictive environments so that they can learn with their peers. All the positions that are being asked for, many of them, are so that these children can be given education with equal opportunities. These positions are mandated by law, and we're asking you to help support that. Please support our budget. Please support our special needs children. Please support our students of second languages. Please support our band. Please support our gifted students. The budget requires those positions, the children require those positions, and you have the opportunity to provide that. So please fully support our budget. I'm Diane Muldowney. I live in the Lee Hill district, and I work in the Battlefield district as a teacher for Spotsylvania County. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Sean Hockaday. I live at 4537 Hockaday Hill Lane, Spotsylvania, Virginia. I live in the Berkeley district. I had not planned to speak, but there's been a couple comments made and some things that I wanted to try to clear up. I'm director of maintenance, as many of you probably know, and I say this with all good intention. It's not Dr. Baker's budget, it's the school system's budget. And it represents all aspects of this district. We're not only talking about teacher raises, we're talking about staff raises. A lady earlier said that her husband was 48 years old and makes $19 an hour. Well, it's a good chance he works for the school system. Because I can tell you that I have many members of my department that have been here 20 years and don't make $19 an hour. We're talking about guys and ladies that are licensed, certified. We hear about teacher shortages. There's also a trade shortage. Trying to find somebody that's licensed to work in a trade is difficult because what we pay them, they can go elsewhere and make twice as much. Yes, they can leave and they can go find another job. The sad part is, like myself, they don't. Because they've been to school here, their parents have been to school here, their grandparents and great-grandparents. And my children go to school here, and I don't want them to go anywhere else. I'm here for life. My family's been here since the 1700s, and I'm not going anywhere. So, with that, I say this. Our responsibility, whether you're in maintenance or whether you're a school administrator, is to meet the needs of students, how they come through our door. We cannot dictate that. If they're homeless, if they're bullied, or whatever it may be, it's our duty to educate them. We don't make the rules. We have to follow them. That includes maintenance. That includes providing the facilities and the daily needs that those children need. Maybe some people say I care too much. But if I didn't care, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to do the job I do. So I'm asking you, our staff should not have to threaten to leave. They live here, they work here. They understand the aspect of having elderly parents like myself. They've been there taking care of grandparents and now parents. But they can't do that on the money they're making. So don't think of this as a teacher raise. Think of this as a staff raise. And the requirements that we have to meet, the license we have to hold, are just many of the same as firefighters and emergency services do. We need you to allow us to do our job. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who did not sign up who wishes to speak?
Good evening. My name is Mary Beth Dalton. I live in the Livingston District. I work in the Livingston District, and my son attends high school at Spotsylvania High School in the Livingston District. I had some figures that were brought to my attention. I'm a numbers person. Data is what that's where you're gonna sell me. From 2009 to 2020, the fire budget has increased by 133%. The sheriff's budget has increased by 74%, and the school budget has increased by 6.8%. I know there's been a lot of talk about funding the schools and fully funding the budget, and that Dr. Baker's budget is asking for too much. But I think if you look at these figures and where the money is going, percentage-wise, you can see that the schools are not asking for more than what they need. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who did not sign up who wishes to speak at this time? If not, we'll close the public hearing on the budget.
And that brings us to the public hearing, Mr. Chairman, on the advertised tax rates for 2019. Amy, has anyone signed up?
No, sir.
Is there anyone who did not sign up for the second public hearing who wishes to speak at this time?
Justin Langridge again, speaking on behalf of the Spotsylvania Career Firefighters Association, 9835 Courthouse Road, Battlefield District. There's been several comments throughout the budget process, and I believe it even made it into the highlight notes from Mr. Taylor's office, referencing the at least 80 positions that have been added to public safety over the last several years. Just want to point out there's been significant changes in the fire and rescue system within Spotsylvania County. And if you guys hadn't taken the steps that you did take over the last several years to fund those positions, you would likely have stations that aren't staffed at night, aren't staffed on weekends. And you certainly would not have the 24/7 ALS medical coverage that's available to you all and to our citizens 24/7 now. So, yes, a lot has been added, but that has maintained staffing, that's maintained stations operating, and that hasn't done anything for our people, for my people, for our members, for your employees. So please keep that in mind. Thank you all.
Is there anyone else who did not sign up who wishes to speak at this time?
Lee Hill District. I confess that I've never really understood the difference between the budget hearing and the tax rate hearing, but my focus is often on the schools, but I want to say that in general, I think our county is grossly underfunded. I think you have built a county that has more needs than the tax rate allows for. Particularly sheriff and fire department, those are essential, and to hear the statements made tonight by Justin and others, it's the same story that we're hearing with the schools, and it all points back to building a county, as you have done over the past 10, 15, 20 years that I've lived here, and needing to sustain that county. And I think in order to sustain that county, we need to set a tax rate that pays for all of the needs of all of our departments. So I'm here to encourage you to stay at the tax rate that you've advertised and not lower it, and share that money equitably amongst all the essential services. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who did not sign up who wishes to speak?
Anthony LaFaro, Chancellor District. Regarding the tax rate, I just wanted to say that a big part of the reason I think we're here in this situation where so many groups feel they're underfunded and that the county as a whole is underfunded is going back to when this majority was elected, you made this promise to keep the tax rate equalized, which means to never, essentially, to lower the tax rate so people never pay a net higher amount in total taxes. And while that's admirable, it's completely unfeasible. Costs go up. I used to sell corporate contracts and commercial contracts and office supplies. I remember 1 2-year period of time on a per page basis, paper and toner went up by about 40%. That accounts for about 60 to 80% of most organizations' usage. A county the size of Spotsylvania County, between schools and county side, would probably use over $1 million of paper or $1 million of office supplies. So that's a lot of money. You cannot expect to never do that. And regarding the people who spoke that they'll be priced out of the county as seniors on fixed income, I have 2 things to say. One, this board has generously, and I agree with this decision, voted to increase the subsidy to give them a tax deduction, meaning a break on their anybody 65 and over making under a certain amount, and you raised that amount last year from $50,000 to $60,000 so that they would pay less in taxes than the average person. So even on years you hike people's taxes, most seniors have gotten a lower tax, overall tax liability. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with people coming up here and making things up as if they're going to get priced out of the county or line, like Ms. Swanson has done repeatedly. Furthermore, just because we're young and we have children in schools doesn't mean we don't deserve the same things their children had. And that's important to me. You know, it's just ridiculous that the same characters come up year in, year and out. And overall, we're in this situation because of poor decision making on the tax rate as a whole, and that can't continue.
This board passed a resolution that there would be no personal attacks. So I'm very offended by your past speaker. You didn't shut him down, he wasn't gavelled down, and he should have been. I have not lied. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know my income. He doesn't know if I'm going to be priced out of this county. Shame on him and shame on y'all for not calling him down. And I'm asking you to honor Mr. Taylor's budget and not raise our taxes. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who did not sign up who wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll close this public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, that brings us to public hearing on the FY 2020 to 2024 Capital Improvements Program.
I do not have any speakers signed up.
Is there anyone who did not sign up for the Capital Improvement Plan public hearing who wishes to speak to that issue?
Mr. Chairman, you need to allow me and Greg to read a disclosure statement.
Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Okay. I have to read my disclosure statement this afternoon. I hereby disclose I have an interest in the budget transaction as an employee of the county. My disclosure is on file with the clerk and is available to the public for review. Mark and Amy, please record this disclosure in the minutes of this meeting as required by law.
I hereby disclose I have an interest in the budget transaction as a retired employee of the county. My disclosure is on file with the clerk and is available to the public for review. Mark and Amy, please record this disclosure in the minutes of this meeting as required by law.
Now, is there anyone who wishes to speak to the CIP public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
That completes the board's agenda for this evening. The next Board of Supervisors meeting is April 9th, 2019 at the Holbert Building at 4:30 p.m.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.